All right, we are in Staging 2.0. It is May 15th, 2025. About 6:30, 6:45-ish, somewhere in that area. We're headed back to the track. It's going to be a hopefully a daily occurrence as long as the weather's nice and I'm not under the weather. This morning I had one hell of a migraine that I really couldn't explain. Maybe I slept funny, but the thought of light touching my eyeballs made me want to rip them out, ladies and gents. So, but now we're feeling better. Good enough to do some laps, maybe shoot the basketball around. Yesterday we were in Panda, the Model X AI 4. That had 13.2.9. Still got to upload that video. We're so behind. I might upload a video tonight with me just riding around point to point in Staging 2.0 here on 13.2.8. But luckily, we have received 13.2.now. That's what we're... Luckily, we've experienced... Luckily... we have 13.2.9 right now, and it's probably a very short window between the OGs getting it and the rest of us commoners on the early access program getting it. So I don't know, maybe they've taken into account that we're willing to risk it. You know, Brucearians always say no risk it, no biscuit. I'm out here trying to get this biscuit, seeing what Tesla has for us. Now, I'm not gonna lie, waiting this long for a point release kind of seems weird. None of these I guess the 18-wheeler that's driving here on these back roads, our AI student driver eventually did go without me having to prompt it, but obviously it encroached the stop sign to where the 18-wheeler could not move. And all the other vehicles were trying to let it pass, and our AI student driver might have seemed like a bit of a jerk, causing the driver of the 18-wheeler some undue stress. But with that being said, all the cars being stopped, our AI student driver did proceed. Yeah, that's some minor nuance things here and there. Partly because, you know, some of these rules of the road, these nuances, you got to be able to give enough space when the roads are too narrow. That was one of the major things I noticed in Japan, right? They even had some of these lane markings marked for certain roads because they knew if vehicles went all the way up to the intersection, it would prevent their freight vehicles from being able to maneuver in those tight roads. Little things, I don't know how you program that in, especially not understanding, you know, the timing. I have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure we just drove like normal, not understanding that 18-wheeler needed us to move. And even if I were driving, I'm not sure in the moment if I would have reacted any differently. You know, I'd have to go back and check, but whether or not their blinker is on trying to get down this road, or if they're gonna go straight or turn right even, I'm not sure. But little thing that we'll go back and check the tape for. Anyway, stock was down today, but my requirement to purchase more TSLA is a 4% plus drop. We didn't reach that, so without a 4% drop, I kind of stayed on the sidelines. I will wait, you know, and the stock could shoot back up and I miss an opportunity, but I've got my rules. They're pedestrian at best, but they're my rules, and I follow them, and I urge everybody else to think about their investment and how they can optimize it as best they can. No one can time the market. It's a fool's errand, but you got to feel good about what you do and don't do, right? And then kind of modify it until you feel confident, right? I could have bought shares today. I wouldn't have really thought too different about it, but because of my 4% drop or greater rule, I don't purchase. If it's over 7-8% drop, I start thinking about calls. I'd be like, when can I expect the stock to make a turnaround? And trying to think about expiration dates and the like. So I got my rules in place. They've treated me well. You know, nothing's perfect, but I do like where I'm at when I follow those rules. I feel better. We've also lowered our our speed offset. I finally did it before we got out the garage and lowered it from 40% to 20%. And right now we are at our max of going over 7 miles an hour of the current speed limit. There is a truck behind us probably wondering why we're going so freaking slow. That's because the mile per hour speed limit is 35. People fly down this road, and I don't want to be one of those people, especially if it's the robo-taxi in control, right? Speed limit 35, going 42. I'm on chill mode. This is about as good as it gets, ladies and gents. So we're gonna probably get tailed by this Toyota, wondering why the are we not moving any faster. And if he's catching my tag on my bumper right by my license plate, it says, you know, caution, AI student driver, or, you know, something of that like, right? Letting everybody know that it might be a little tongue-in-cheek, but it says AI student driver with a little caution thing there. So, you know, he hopefully understands that we're going about as fast as I want my vehicle to move while I'm supervising. And hell, I probably would want it to drive even less, I wouldn't call this reckless, but with more reservation if I'm in the back seat. So obviously the Toyota could pass me if he really, really wanted to, but he's choosing to stay behind me. All right. So the speed offset, that's kind of exactly where I dropped it to 20%. That's where I feel very comfortable at 20%. Little idle traffic. Where do we go from here? I think the board is considering Elon's pay package. That's something to think about. They were talking about that, especially on the Schwab network, right? Elon's pay package and what, I mean, obviously it's tied up in the Delaware courts, but they need a plan B, C, and D when we're talking about retaining the techno king Elon Musk. So now that we've incorporated, I say we as in, you know, Tesla has incorporated in Texas, left Delaware like many a corporation. I don't understand. This ruling seems to be, God, I don't know. I don't want to say baseless or without merit, but goodness gracious, overwhelming support from the shareholders. This is the, I guess, the libertarian in me that says, don't tell me what I can do with my company that I have shares in. You don't get to determine that. We voted for it. This is how this goes down. It's kind of like my knee-jerk initial reaction. Now, is the board a lot of Elon friends and family? Sure. I mean, but again, that's what the shareholders voted for. Now, I wasn't a shareholder when a lot of these guys came onto the board, but I kind of knew what I was getting into when I dumped some, a significant portion of my money into the stock back in 2020. So don't tell me what I can and cannot do. And the human over here just, risks his own life to jump the line there while we wait on this Sentra to find a proper avenue to go. I just want to remove the human element so bad because they have no sense of community. It's a very selfish way that humans tend to drive. They don't think about their fellow man. They don't think about the cars around them. And, lo and behold, accidents happen because people are in a rush. Unnecessarily, I might add. So, I don't know. It'll be one less thing to worry about. When robo-taxis become, hundreds of thousands of rides a week already conducted by driverless taxis. And that number is going to continue to increase. And that's majority done by Waymo, right? In the cities that they operate, they plan to scale up their fleet. And then when Texas Tesla robo-taxis come online, and they start off with their, 10, 20, few months go by, they up it to 100. Next thing you know, Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio all are allowing Tesla to operate their robo-taxis within the city limits and the surrounding areas. Then, it's going to, all of a sudden, Tesla has 1,000 robo-taxis operating in the great state of Texas. Some of these numbers, I'm just pulling them out of thin air, right? Extrapolate as best you can how Tesla plans to scale up this service as demand potentially could go berserk depending on the pricing that Tesla has put out. I fully expect them to be able to offer their service at half the cost of Waymo, or half the price of Waymo and freaking Uber and Lyft, which would by default just blow demand out of the sky. Then you're like, what cars are they using for the robo-taxi, right? The Cybercab isn't ready. So what vehicles are they using? Yeah, they're using the standard Model Ys that are coming out of Giga Austin as robo-taxis, right? So a Model Y you could buy today is the same vehicle that they're going to be using for their robo-taxi fleet. And you ask Waymo, what vehicles do Waymo use? What does this ramp up in production look like, right? They have to partner with other auto manufacturers to make sure their software and hardware can be outfitted on this vehicle. That takes time. That takes a significant amount of logistics, right? That's why they only operate in so few areas, and quite frankly, why they're scaling it won't even be like Tesla's going to be making, let's just say the run rate for Austin for the Model Y is somewhere, let's just say it's 4,000. Odds are it's higher, but it's a model refresh. Let's just say it's at 4,000. 4,000 Model Ys come out of Giga Austin a week. You know what I mean? So right now, I think Waymo has plans to have 2,000, by the year's end. 2,000 total vehicles in operation, while Tesla could eke out 4,000 in a week that is going to be running. I don't think people really grasp how fast Tesla can become the leader in autonomous ride hail. It wouldn't take much, right? They're gonna take it slow because safety is paramount to Tesla, right? If anything, they're going to be safe. That's why I'm still sitting in this seat supervising this vehicle right now. When in actuality, in certain scenarios, I could see myself easily being in the back seat. I haven't really had an intervention outside of navigational in the last 100 feet. So, you know, once they crack those codes or figure out a way to make that consumer facing friendly, that's lights out. And that's what we expect to happen sometime in June, right? Maybe late. My money has always been late June, right? Like, I expected the last week of June they would have, you know, the first robo-taxi fair in Giga Austin. So they're already operating with supervisors in the seat, doing teleoperations, things of that nature, trying to iron out some of the premier edge cases, things that they should constantly be working on if this thing is going to operate driverlessly. It'll never be 100% like no issues, right? But Tesla has to be able to manage issues as they arise quickly and efficiently. That's what's going to separate them from every other ride hail, whether it be autonomous or not. And that's what I fully expect, because Tesla is already so good at everything that they endeavor to, to pursue. So, you know, I can't drive another car that doesn't have FSD, and this software is far from perfect, right? It makes mistakes, but those mistakes I can deal with as long as I never really have to drive for 99% of the time anymore. That's just me, folks. I prefer not driving. And if this software never gets any better, I'll supervise for the rest of my life and call that a day. But something tells me they're going to improve the software much like they've done over the past half decade. You know, the software used to be so terrible 2 years ago. Like, you would just use it, you know, to be like, wow, you know, kind of get an insight on where they were. But now it's critical. Like, I do not want to use anything else. I feel the safest when I'm using FSD, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. All right, so school should be out. I don't know if they have an event or anything at this field. We're gonna go take a look, see.